Hello, good evening. Welcome to ITV News. This is Monday night's calendar.
Hello, thanks for your company. These are tonight's main stories.
Hebden Bridge murder, 31 years after Lindsay Reimer disappeared. West Yorkshire Police say they've arrested a prisoner over her death.
I'm in the town where the teenager vanished as the whole community hopes this is the breakthrough that's needed to finally solve Lindsay's murder.
Safety concerns. Campaigners say disabled visitors are being excluded from York's Christmas market, as counter-terrorism experts say the event could be vulnerable to attack.
Opticians, solicitors, all sorts of services are only in the city centre. This exclusion for the Christmas market means that we're excluded once again.
Through gritted teeth, the rural community is losing out on NHS care as patients fight to find a dentist.
And 6 years after Fish Lake suffered catastrophic floods, the community's story is brought to life on stage. Good evening. First tonight, a potential breakthrough in one of the longest running murder inquiries. West Yorkshire Police have revealed they've arrested a prisoner over the death of the murdered schoolgirl Lindsay Reimer.
Lindsay was 13 when she disappeared in Hebden Bridge back in 1994. Her body was discovered in the Rochdale Canal 5 months later. Her killer has never been found.
Sally Simpson is live in Hebden Bridge tonight, where the community there has never given up hope of finding answers. Sally.
Lindsay Reimer's murder cast a long shadow over this Pennine town, which has persisted for more than 3 decades. In that time, just 2 arrests, 2 men in 2017 and 2018 who were questioned and released without charge. But tonight, a new breakthrough as a man is arrested by detectives from West Yorkshire Police's Homicide and Major Inquiry Team at an undisclosed UK prison where he's already serving a sentence for other offences. He'll now be questioned over the next 48 hours. And then it's thought he'll be bailed back to prison while inquiries continue.
And Sally, have the police given any more information?
Well, they haven't named the man and they haven't identified the prison in which he's being held, but they've said officers are also hoping to speak to a number of potential witnesses here in Hebden Bridge and in the wider Halifax area who've been identified through their investigations. Their priority is to get justice for Lindsay, and they say while they appreciate the public interest that this arrest will bring, they don't anticipate any immediate developments at this time. The senior investigating officer in the case, Detective Chief Inspector James Entwistle, told us, although it's now more than 30 years since Lindsay was murdered, we remain convinced there is someone out there who has vital information that could finally help to ease her family's pain, and we urge them to do the right thing and tell us what they know.
And Lindsay's disappearance is still vivid in the minds of people living in Hebden Bridge. Sally, take us back to 1994.
Well, it was a rainy November evening when Lindsay walked from her family home to the corner shop just a few hundred yards from here to buy breakfast cereal. This CCTV footage was the last confirmed sighting of the 13-year-old shortly after 10 p.m. 5 agonising months later, Lindsay's family were given the news that her body had been found at Rawdon Mill Lock, about a mile away in the Rochdale Canal. Well, last year, Lindsay's family marked the 30th anniversary of her disappearance. When Calendar spoke to her sisters Kate and Juliet today, they said police are keeping them informed. It's been a long road for the family, and they'll be hoping that today is a decisive step forward in finally getting the answers they've been seeking for more than 3 decades.
Absolutely. Sally Simpson live in Hebden Bridge for us tonight. Thank you very much. Well, next this evening, people with disabilities and mobility issues say that they're being shut out of York city centre as part of anti-terror measures being introduced to keep visitors safe at this year's Christmas market.
Campaigners claim a total ban on vehicles, including those belonging to blue badge holders, not only denies them access to the event, but also to vital services. The City Council is bringing in the restriction from next month at the request of North Yorkshire Police, which says it must do all it can to mitigate against any risk of an attack. Lisa Adlam has more.
Navigating York's busy streets is not without its challenges for people with disabilities. And for those who rely on a blue badge to allow them to park closer to essential services, a suspension of that access from next month is about to make life a whole lot harder.
All sorts of services are only in the city centre, and this exclusion for the Christmas market means that we're excluded once again. Isn't the city, primarily for those of us that live here and support it all year round, not just turn it into one big tourist theme park for 6 weeks of the year at Christmas?
It's a view echoed by people like Glynis, making slow and painful progress to the camera shop she would usually park outside. Blue badge restrictions currently in place due to work by Yorkshire Water already mean she's finding it tough going. A further ban will put the centre of York out of bounds for her until next year.
I've had to park on Deansgate and I'm struggling because I've just had a knee operation and I've got a blue badge and I can't get parked outside. Now I will take my camera in today. I won't be able to come into York now till January because it'll be all closed because York does not like disabled people at Christmas.
But businesses in York do like the crowds the market brings. Growing in size every year from the inaugural St Nicholas Fair back in 1992, up to 1.2 million people are thought to have been attracted to it in recent years, which also makes it a potential terror target. North Yorkshire Police have urged the council to ban all vehicles except emergency services to prevent a vehicle being used as a weapon. The council has agreed but recognises it causes significant problems for many.
There's very little time to look at what mitigation measures can be put in place so that the people who will be obviously affected by this restriction look at what measures can be put in place to enable them to access the services in the city centre that they need.
Right now we are working with the police and other bodies to make sure that people can access as much as possible for Blue Badge, but also all the other movements that happen during the Christmas market to see if we can do it safely. Longer term, we're going to have to look at how we organise the market to make sure that everybody can access it.
In the short term, though, restrictions are causing concern for those who run the St Sampson's Community Centre, aimed at providing a safe, warm space for older people, many with mobility issues. A ban on parking outside is having a detrimental effect, not just on business, but on individuals.
It's affecting them socially, it's affecting them. Even the things like we have some charity groups that come in and give advice. It could be advice to do with benefits. It could be emotional support. We have the Samaritans that come in and access us. So what we're doing is, if we're not able to offer that, then where are they going to get those things from? It's just another barrier for people with disabilities.
A barrier designed to keep a city safe, which also threatens to curb the freedoms of many who live here. Lisa Adlam, ITV News, York.
The Conservative Party leader, Kemi Badenoch, has today backed the independent inquiry in the so-called Battle of Orgreave during the miners' strike in 1984, when pickets and police clashed at the coking plant near Rotherham.
She was speaking on a visit to Grantham to mark the 100th anniversary of the birth of the former Prime Minister, Margaret Thatcher.
But more recent attention has been gained by a Yorkshireman who's not even a politician and who's eyeing Ed Miliband's seat in Doncaster North. Well, our political correspondent, Fred Dimbleby, is in Westminster for us live this evening. And Fred, this is someone probably not averse to asking for a final answer.
No, that's right. He's been a presenter, he's been a farmer. You can probably guess who I'm talking about at this point. Now it seems he wants to turn his hands to politics. Jeremy Clarkson, of course, was born in Doncaster, posted over the weekend on X, "People of Doncaster North, are you happy with your MP? Would you like it if someone from your neck of the woods kicked him out," suggesting a challenge to Ed Miliband, who is safely in that seat. Now the big question would be is if he does stand, who would he stand for? Jeremy Clarkson has been pretty critical of Nigel Farage and Reform UK, so would he have a home with the Conservatives? That's a question I put to the leader, Kemi Badenoch.
Well, I think that would be very entertaining, but Jeremy Clarkson is not a member of the Conservative Party. So what I want to see actually is Conservatives defeating Ed Miliband and making sure that we stop his agenda that is bankrupting our country.
Well, he has floated this idea before, but hasn't gone through with it. And I will say that Ed Miliband has a pretty significant majority of more than 9,000 votes. There also isn't an election until 2029. We have, of course, reached out to Ed Miliband's team today. But if he does go ahead in that contest, well, it will be a fascinating one to watch.
It will. We'll have to watch this space, won't we? And Kemi Badenoch did mention Orgreave today, didn't she, Fred?
Yeah, well, she was in Grantham, as you mentioned, talking about Margaret Thatcher's legacy. But I'm sure for many of those watching tonight, that legacy will be divisive. There'll be those who support her, those who oppose her. And one incident from her time in office is now, as you mentioned, the subject of an inquiry. That is the Battle of Orgreave. Today, Kemi Badenoch made it clear that there were questions to be answered.
I think it's important that we make sure that we get answers. There are many people who have questions. We need to see how Labour is improving our economy. What are they going to do at the budget? And right now, they haven't got any answers.
Kemi Badenoch and the Conservatives are happy to talk about legacy and history, but to win back power, they now need to prove they're a party of the future, not just the past.
Fred Dimbleby live at Westminster Forest this evening. Thank you. And this is Monday night's calendar. Still to come tonight, The Deluge, which has become a drama on stage. A new play about the Fish Lake floods opens this week.
And weather-wise, high pressure continues to be in control of the weather. That means settled but not always sunny. If you need more detail than that, join me for the forecast later on.
Thank you, James. Well, some more headlines now. And 2 men have been charged with the murdering of the Lost Prophets frontman and convicted child sex offender Ian Watkins in a West Yorkshire prison. The paedophile singer was stabbed to death on Saturday while serving a 29-year sentence at HMP Wakefield. Fellow prisoners Rashid Goodell, who's 25, and Samuel Dodsworth, who's 43, have been charged with murder. Both men have appeared at Leeds Magistrates Court this morning and remain in custody.
Next, if you've been struggling to find an NHS dentist where you live, you're certainly not alone.
No, rural and deprived communities are being hit the hardest, with Sheffield recording just 14 NHS dental practices per 100,000 people. Now that's below the national average, and for some patients, it's making their life a misery. Amrit Birdie reports.
Rosie Frost has struggled with dental abscesses for some years, but since moving to Sheffield, she's been unable to access NHS dental care. Now she says it's impacting almost all areas of her life.
I've got multiple abscesses. I've had sepsis because of the abscesses. I'm waiting for teeth removals that isn't happening. And unfortunately, I then can't continue my treatment until my teeth are removed. I can't eat hard foods, there's so much stuff that I can't do now because of having all these problems that I'm not able to work, because I'm constantly off sick, because I've been troubling post-sepsis. And yeah, it's had a massive knock-on effect on my whole life.
NHS England data shows people in rural and deprived areas have far fewer NHS dental services, creating so-called dental deserts. Across the UK, the average number of NHS dental practices is just 15 per 100,000 people, but in Sheffield that figure falls below the average at just 14. Mark Green's been campaigning for fairer access for years, having worked in rural parts of North Yorkshire for much of his career.
It's not a small fix. Little tweaks here won't make a difference. It needs a proper, radical reform of the contract to change it and make it more appealing for dentists to want to work in these hard-to-reach areas and these dental deserts, and hopefully can redress the inequalities that have been as a result of that, with patients missing out, ultimately.
The Department for Health told ITV News that they have started rolling out extra urgent dental appointments and are reforming the NHS dental contract to improve access, focus on prevention and ensure dentists are fairly rewarded for working in the NHS. For Rosie, it's about more than just her teeth.
I'm not confident with my smile and sort of my health. It's been awful, sort of constantly in and out of the doctors for antibiotics, in and out of hospital because of the sepsis that stemmed from dental abscesses. It's been quite a rough sort of 4 years.
Amrit Birdie, ITV News.
Yeah, there's nothing quite like toothache, is there? It's horrible. Well, it's time for some sport now with Chris. There's been plenty of West Yorkshire involvement in the England Rugby League squad, hasn't there? But there's been just one very big omission.
There has, Lara. No room, it seems, for the man of steel. Shane Warne not including Jake Connor in his 24-man squad for the upcoming Ashes series with Australia.
Powering local sport in the community. Octopus Energy sponsors ITV Regional Sports Report.
I think I call him Shane Warne, but it's Sean Wayne, and he's the England head coach, and he says Jake Connor being named Super League's best player last week had no bearing on his squad selection ahead of the Ashes. Leeds Rhinos player Connor is the standout absentee from the 24-man squad that was named earlier today. Connor's teammates Harry Newman, Mikolaj Alečky and Callum Watkins are in, alongside Wakefield pair Mike McMeekin and Tom Johnston, but it was Connor's omission that caused the biggest stir at today's press conference.
He'll be good for the World Cup next year. He's a talented player, Jake, no doubt about that. I had a conversation with him last week again, and he knows where he stands. I admire him as a player, but I also think George Williams and Harry Smith's a good player, and Jez Layton, and that's the positive thing I want to talk about.
Well, another man who might count himself fairly unlucky not to be included is Bradford-born Elliot Minchella. The 29-year-old has enjoyed a fine season as captain of Hull Kingston Rovers, on Saturday lifting the third of a hat-trick of trophies for his club. It's the first time Rovers have won the Super League title, and for Minchella, well, it's quite the story. Released by the Leeds Rhinos, he was working on a building site whilst playing part-time for Sheffield and then Bradford before signing for KR in 2020.
How does this feel, holding that trophy?
It's just a combination of 25 years of dreams come true, to be honest with you. Unbelievable, mate. This is everything I've ever dreamt of, to be honest. So pleased, so pleased.
And Chris, of course, we featured that man there, Dave Allen, the boxer behind you there, on the programme last week, didn't we? How did he get on?
So, Ian, sadly, he didn't win, but he did put up a decent showing, did Dave. Now, Dave, who's from Conisborough near Doncaster, has had something of a career resurgence. He actually retired from boxing 5 years ago, but he's quite literally fought his way back to the top, and this was the first time he'd headlined the Sheffield Arena. Sadly, his opponent, the big Russian Arslanbek Makhmudov, proved one step too far. Despite landing a few big punches and going the distance, Dave eventually lost on a unanimous points decision. Well, earlier on, I spoke to Dave and started by asking him what the atmosphere was like on Saturday night.
I've been to boxing shows all around the world. I've seen world champions fight. I've never seen an atmosphere like it. I came to the stage, took my breath a little bit. I got to the stage and I felt like a little mini panic attack. I couldn't catch my breath. I had a bit of panicked, and took me a couple of seconds to get my composure together. I got quite emotional, really. Couldn't believe it, like 9,000 people there for me, and I box in busy arenas, but I've never had people support me like that, and it really caught me off guard, actually.
Did that have an impact, Dave, on your performance?
No, I don't think so. I think the better man won, but yeah, it really choked me up and took me by surprise. You know, I rushed to the ring. I couldn't really struggled to handle it, really. Yeah, it caught me. It really caught me out, but unbelievable. That's something I'll never ever forget.
What's next for you then, Dave?
I think we're going to headline Sheffield again. I think Eddie wants to go back. I think he said the atmosphere was that good. The Sheffield Arena was as busy as it's been the last 15 years, which is incredible, really. When you think of all the fighters that have been there and headlined, you know, I've pretty much brought the biggest night of boxing back to Sheffield since Naz. And Eddie said we'll do it again.
Dave, commiserations for Saturday, but thank you for talking to us.
Thank you, mate. Cheers.
OK, Killamarsh's finest Millie Bright has announced her retirement from international football. The 32-year-old who won the Euros with England in 2022 and has played 88 games for her country announced the news earlier today on her Daily Brightness podcast.
It's the right time for me to call it a day. With England, I'm the same as you. Representing your country means everything, and yeah, it's been a special moment for myself, my family. But yeah, it's time. It's the right time for me to call it a day.
OK, in the men's game, no matches in the top two divisions due to the international break. But in League One, Rotherham came back from a goal down to win 2-1 at Northampton. Chesterfield beat Salford 2-0, thanks in part to this fine header. Sadly for Ollie Turton, it was into his own net. And Harrogate twice led at Fleetwood, but went on to lose 3-2. That's all your sport from me.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Now then, when you're doing the weekly food shop, you've probably noticed how quickly prices are rising. Inflation figures show the price of food is rising faster than many other items.
And some experts say that we could be doing more to make our food go further, as James Webster reports.
The price of food is always rising, but it's currently rising faster than other items. The overall inflation rate in August was 3.8%, but year on year, food has increased by 5.1%.
We're seeing a number of commodities and wholesale prices for things like cocoa or beef going up, and that's particularly feeding into higher food prices, but also some government-imposed costs, the national insurance changes that came in last year's budget actually hit in April, and those are really feeding through now into prices.
And that rise is affecting the choices we make in the supermarket. We've been speaking to shoppers at Barnsley Market.
I shop at markets a lot, and some supermarkets are dearer than others, so you go to cheaper supermarkets.
For what you used to get for £40, now you might only get one bag of shopping, which is not much, and they go through it so fast.
Making our food last longer is, according to this food expert based in Ilkley, one way of saving some money.
You can be adding days on to the shelf life of some of these just by good food storage and thinking about how you keep it in your house.
And are some people getting it wrong and storing things in the wrong way?
I think they are, and I think what happens is people think they're doing the right thing, but every food has its own different quirks in how it likes to be stored. So you may think you're actually storing it the right way, but in fact you're taking days off the shelf life.
These are items many of us have in our kitchens, but some of them might not last as long as they could because of how we keep them.
Cheese doesn't like fluctuating temperatures, so some people will go to the fridge, put the cheese in at the front.
What's for stick it in the door?
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. Stick it at the back of the fridge. It's nice and cool there. It will be happier with that. Potatoes like cool, dry, dark places. They don't like the humid places of a fridge. If you put a whole onion in the fridge, again, the humidity of the fridge will get to the onion and it won't be good.
No, not at all. What about avocado? Is that a fridge?
Ultimately, if you decide you don't want to use your avocado, you can freeze them, and they do freeze well for up to 6 months.
A full loaf of bread never seems to get eaten in our house without going mouldy.
I know that feeling. So what we say with sliced bread is if you're not going to get through it all, simply freeze it.
Bananas?
Yeah, they're a staple of the fruit bowl up and down the country, but they don't like being with other fruit. These will ripen really quickly. So what we say is keep them on a countertop, but keep them in a bowl separate to other fruit.
While prices will continue to rise, the experts say making food last longer could reduce the overall amount of food that we need to buy. James Webster, ITV News.
Top tips there from James. Well, finally tonight, it's almost 6 years since parts of South Yorkshire were devastated by flooding after the River Don burst its banks.
Yes, we remember it well. Well, now a new play based on the experience of villagers in Fishlake is setting off on tour across the region this week. Ben Basin went along to rehearsals to find out more.
A village underwater. These remarkable images will live long in the memory of the people of Fishlake. 90% of buildings here were submerged after the River Don burst its banks, leaving people out of their homes and businesses in ruin. 6 years on, the water is gone, but the trauma of that time lives on and is finding a new voice on the stage. Alongside professional actors telling the story of the floods, is a community choir made up of ordinary village folk who were affected.
It was just devastation. We lost everything. We really did.
Sandra's bungalow was inundated with 3 feet of water back in 2019. She and her husband were out of their home for 8 months.
It was just covered in mud, wet through. It smelled awful. Silly things like in the back garden there were apples bobbing about in the water and we haven't got any apple trees.
Floodwaters are rising. Just get here.
The play was written by local dramatist Jeremy Fletcher, who himself was flooded in Fishlake. The script was formed through workshops held in the village, which saw more than 60 people come together to tell their stories.
We shared 20 minutes of it about a year ago, and when it finished, where you normally get applause, there was a stony silence, and then there was like this emotional outpouring, and I think we'd done our job. Because we're taking people back in a cathartic way. And I think you have to make sure, as a community, you heal from something like this.
I just felt it was something I had to do, something to get it all out of the system and move on. And that's what we're doing.
So's Bill. What? We've got to go now. Come on.
The play follows the stories of 7 people in Fishlake experiencing the floods and features original music. The cast have been rehearsing in the village hall to immerse themselves in the story.
I think it's actually been lovely to be here and see things. So like the pub that we're in the play, we've all been in the pub, so you know where you are, you know what you're talking about. And if anything, I think it's just there's like a greater responsibility to do it justice, because there are so many people here who are affected.
Kept awake all night.
At the time, Fishlake was a small community plunged into the national media spotlight. And although this play embarks on a mini tour of local theatres this month, there's hope that in time it will reach a wider audience. Because what is a cathartic working through of trauma for one South Yorkshire village is also a cautionary tale for a world faced with a changing climate. Ben Mason, ITV News, Fishlake.
What a great idea. You can really see that the community will heal through taking part in that play.
Yeah, absolutely. It was, believe me, terrible there at the time.
Really
absolutely awful.
Thankfully, no more floods in sight. Here's James.
Today's forecast: seafood and sugar cube towns. TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
Hi there, good evening. Yeah, it's been a settled start to the week, but an awful lot of cloud around, and really that's the pattern over the next few days. The high pressure stays where it is, hence it's settled, but where it's positioned, we keep circulating cloud around. Does mean with a lack of sunshine, it's going to be cooler by day, but where we hold on to the cloud at night, it should be frost free. This high was with us through the weekend. He really is not going to move that far over the next few days, but I think we'll continue to see cloud spilling in across the northern side of it. And as we start to see a bit more of an onshore breeze, it will get a little bit fresher feeling. Overnight tonight then, more cloud because of the low cloud base. Actually, if you head up to higher ground, the hills might actually poke out the top side of the cloud. It's going to make it a mild night, though it's an insulating feature, so double figures pretty much across the board. Tomorrow then, great start to the day. It looks as though it's going to be much the same. Not much of a breeze to help chop things up. We might see a few brighter breaks, but that breeze is coming in from the north, and that's why we're going to see temperatures slightly down on today, 13 to around 15 Celsius. Still not bad for the time of year. Wednesday, rinse and repeat. That high just moves out a little bit more to the northwest. We get a bit more of an onshore breeze, so looking at around 13 or 14 Celsius at best. Like I say, we still get that feed of cloud making its way around the high. Not a great deal changing on Thursday, 13 Celsius, so again slightly cooler. Similar picture on Friday, so settled but mainly cloudy for the days ahead.
TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
There we go. That's it from us. Stay with us on ITV1 because Mary's next with the ITV Evening News. We'll see you later.
Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.